I just want it to look like you can tell that's a '69 Mustang, or if that's a '69 Camaro or Chevelle or whatever. But all it is old sheet metal, and you still have, a new car feel up under it. So that's one of our biggest things. And going to these shows is seeing how other people, incorporate that feel, or how out of the box they go, and see if it's still, for my style fits it. And you gain ideas off all that stuff also.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Collision Vision. As always, I'm your host, Cole Strandberg. Our latest series continues on today. Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Restoration. As SEMA gets closer, every week we continue to highlight some of the most innovative and exciting creators in the automotive industry. And that continues today with a fellow Southerner who puts an incredible flair on his hot rod builds. Jonathon Goolsby is the owner of Goolsby Customs, an award-winning hot rod shop fueled by their passion for bringing automotive visions to reality for their customers. Jonathon and I will talk today about his story, some of his favorite builds, his strategy for fostering an engaged team, and what Goolsby Customs has planned for SEMA 2024. Enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by Thryv. Ready to hit the gas on growth? Meet Thryv, the do-it-all small business software that can save you over 20 hours a week. Attract customers, manage day-to-day tasks, and keep communication simple with one powerful tool made for your auto business. Rev up your revenue today and let Thryv save you time so you can get back to doing what you love. Visit thryv.com, that's THRYV.com, to schedule a demo today. Jonathon Goolsby, thank you for joining us here on the Collision Vision.
I appreciate you having me here, man.
Looking forward to a fun conversation. It's the most wonderful time of year coming up on SEMA here in a very short period of time. But I want to just kind of start from the beginning. You've built the reputation that you want to hear in the world of custom cars and the automotive industry as a whole, and that's for creating some of the most beautiful custom cars out there. Where did your passion for cars and the whole custom world come from?
So to back it up and step back in time, pretty much I grew up around race cars, asphalt round track stuff, and those were old cars, and we beat them up, and you'd go fix them, and then you'd go back to racing. So a lot of that passion for cars was around round track racing.
Very cool. And so, what were some of your early influences from a style perspective? Are there any kind of mentors or cars specifically that jump out at you that really led to Goolsby Customs coming to life?
A lot of it was, TV was a big part of it, and then once you get old enough to go to shows, you're going out to shows and you're seeing people and meeting these, people that you see on TV that are building these amazing cars. So starting out watching TV, Foose was always a big one. Then you get to shows and you see Alloway was a big one for me. He's kind of like the grandfather, it seems like. Greening, is close to my age, so watching him, and he's local to us. Johnson, same way. So watching those guys as I grew up too, that was big for me to realize I really like the hot rod stuff, and all our race cars were old cars, so it all fell in that category.
Sure, man. Well, how does it feel, just kind of from a surreal perspective, being mentioned in the same sentence? And we're going to talk about SEMA coming up here and the different builds. But how do you feel now being inspiration for kind of the next generation coming up of people in the industry?
It's very humble. Like I still look at it as I'm just the one still trying to catch up with everybody, still climbing the ladder and all that. And then, it's we host a program to where we're, talking to the next generation that's coming up younger than me, that makes me feel like the old guy now. But
It's crazy how quick that happens.
it's crazy. The years fly by, and now I'm the old guy. Um, but it's neat being able to, still be involved with all them people, and being bumping elbows with them and going to shows and stuff like that. And you feel very fortunate to be able to do stuff like that.
Man, the culture in that world is so cool because some of the most achieved, the most successful people are just some of the nicest people you've ever met too. It's one of the industries where you kind of want to meet your heroes, which is really cool to see.
It is, and I think it's a big family because you go to these shows and, we've got buddies that have hot rod shops all across the country, and we look forward to meeting up at these shows and, we talk ideas and you have a beer in the parking lot, after the show and hang out, but it's a big family for all of us now.
Yep, absolutely. This is a tough question, but I'm gonna give it to you
All
anyway.
right.
If you get mad, like I'm asking you to pick your favorite kid, just don't shoot the messenger here. But looking back in all of your builds, and I was perusing your website before we hit record here. Are there any favorites that come to mind? And if so, why do those stand out?
So that's where you get all the customers mad at you if you don't pick their car. Um, all of them are great because we get to put our twist on them. But the biggest thing that I look for is stance on one and how I sit in it and how I feel when I'm driving it. Um, I'll dig my hole right now. So I got two I'll give out there that I've always stuck in my head, and it's one of our first biggest builds, and it was a 32 Roadster for a local guy. I just like the way it sits. It's a hot rod look. It's one of my favorites for that era. And then I have uh, a giveaway truck that we built for good guys, a little square body. And I love the way I sit in it. I've drove it a ton. I made it my daily driver before we got rid of it. So that was, if I had to put two on the list right now that I can get in and cruise and have fun and enjoy, those were probably my two right now.
Love it, man. All about the feel and the soul to it. That's
It's
awesome.
That's it. If I can sit in it and feel good and I'm comfortable and I can just cruise and listen to radio and hear the motor, I'm good.
That's what it's about. Awesome, man. Well, I want to pivot to SEMA a little bit, but I want to talk first about SEMA from last year. Always a big event for you guys, but looking back to 2023, what were some highlights for you and your team?
For saying it, for me, and what made me be able to accept this award was, definitely the team getting us all here. For the HRI SEMA deal, I was chosen for the person of the year, so that was a huge highlight for me that it was unexpected. It's one of those that I've went to the banquet many years and see all these people get that and never put that on a radar of ever getting. And then we had our Mustang that we've been building for probably a good 4 years now. That was one of our biggest highlights to be able to debut it in the BASF booth. The customer hasn't got to see it. We gave him a rendering of it, and we pulled the cover off for the first time, and that was his surprise for him, and that was a big accomplishment for us.
Man, congratulations on the success there. Going to be tough to upstage that
It
in
is. I
2024.
just look at it, that's the mark, and I float now.
I love it, man. Well, congratulations again. Got to be
Thank
cool
you.
to realize all that hard work has paid off in a couple different ways in 2023. Talk to me about 2024, though. Can you give me a sneak peek of what to expect from Goolsby Customs out at SEMA?
So we've got another car for good guys that we built, and right now we've got it back. We've actually traveled the country in it, and so now it's to the point of getting it back to SEMA quality. We put a little over 6,000 miles. They good guys had it and did the tour, and so we're back with it, getting it prepped. So that's a kind of a mini SEMA crunch, and have it back ready for them, showcase it, and then we got another truck that we're working on, and that's the SEMA crunches right now.
Awesome, man. Very good. Talk to me, man. You're here near me in the Birmingham area. That's a little ways from Las Vegas. How do
Yeah.
you and your team manage the logistics and B kind of the pressure of preparing multiple vehicles for a deadline like SEMA each year?
It is just it's like we get a bat and we beat ourselves with it because we put ourselves in these predicaments. The deal was close to a 28 to 30-hour drive for us. All of us, and we tell ourselves we're not going to do the SEMA crunch, and you always end up back into that SEMA crunch. And so we gamble sometimes. Sometimes it's worked out great where we didn't have to rush, but there has been times where we're like, we got a 30-hour drive. We're down to the line. We've got to put it in the trailer now, and we'll finish it on the road if we have to. People will tell you that doesn't happen, but it happens, and everybody's went through it. So that's you you have to try to gauge that time frame and cross your fingers that nothing's going to happen in the truck or trailer. But and sometimes you get it to where from start to finish you can manage everything and you have no hiccups and all of it plays in just like it's supposed to. You leave on time, you're not rushed, and those are the times that you look back on and enjoy, and the other ones you look back on and you enjoy the pictures of the crush of getting it there and make fun of it then.
Man, it's gotta just be some elevated heart rate, the blood pressure going up. When do you start to feel the pressure? Is it a week out? Is it a day out? Is it somewhere in between? Like, when does it hit? Like, all right, we're on the clock now.
I'd say 2 months you start thinking heavily about it, and a month into it, you're stupid crunch time, you know?
Oh,
That's when you end up you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're counting hours back on certain things, and, and like I said, it gets back down to the driving time, then you encounter that. So it's a big schedule from start to finish, but usually if you get down to the last 2 months, you're counting minutes then.
man, that is wild. I can, I got secondhand anxiety just thinking
It's
about it
like
because we are well in
a
that window.
adrenaline rush.
Well, we are well in that window at the time of this recording, so I appreciate it. What's this year feeling like? Is it gonna be that crunch, or are you feeling pretty good?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. It's not stupid late nights, so everything's going pretty good. And cross your fingers because every time something goes good, you sit back and think something's going to go wrong.
That's
You're
it.
just
We're
waiting for it to
due.
bite you.
We're due. Oh man. Well, I'll be thinking of you. Let's make it a smooth one. Zooming out a little bit, but keeping on the SEMA topic, are there some trends that you're seeing in the world of custom cars and classics that you're excited to see some more of or learn some more about while at SEMA?
A lot of it is technology to me. I think that is took off like crazy, especially with the 3D printing, the machining. Most of these most of the shops now, the hot rod builders, they got all this in house now. It's so much quicker and easier for them just to do it right then. So that opens up the book of being able to do whatever you want. So seeing some of the newest on what people are making, parts wise, stuff like that, I think that's going to be a big thing. How they've interjected into the cars and not make it to where it make it to where it fits the car and not to stand out, as a one piece in the car. Um, so I look at a lot of the technology part of what people are putting into the hot rods and still trying to keep them look like a hot rod.
There you go. Part of my favorite piece of the conversations with guys like you is that combination or that marriage of art and business, right? Like what you guys are doing is definitely art. It's incredible. It's so cool. But you're also running a business at the same time, and those two skill sets do not always marry. So I want to talk a little bit on how those two combine. In my pre-show research, a couple phrases about Goolsby Customs continues to come up, and again, they're the things you want to hear: unique, high quality. Can you walk us through your process when you go to start a project from concept to completion? How do you view that?
A lot of it is customers come in and they might have a car, they might not have a car. Then I'll ask them, "What's the plan with this car? What do you plan on doing with this car? Is this just going to be a driver? Do you plan on, just having a cruiser? Do you want to? Are you the type that just wants to sit in your garage and you take it out once a month around the block and you just like polishing on it?" Um, so those are kind of the starting points. What some of the horsepower ranges, is all boils down to parts too, and um, then big thing is a rendering. We'll go with that, get the drawing, kind of get the blueprint set up of the vehicle that we're going to do. Hit whatever shows we're going to hit as we're building, even if we're showing it off as a build process, or it might be one of them is hit from start to beginning. And as we build it, trying to schedule everything out as best you can. Parts have gotten a lot better on getting. Some of the stuff is still a little tricky, so you try to schedule that and stay ahead of that so it doesn't hold you up in the middle of the process of building this car. um, and hit your marks on everything. Hope that your guys your main guy in the body shop doesn't get sick, or your fab guy was in the middle of that gets sick, or any of them little hiccups to just slow the process down. You got to have a backup plan for another guy to take over if that happens, just to hit these marks, and then finally figure out what show you're going to debut it out, and then go from there.
Man, I love it. Where do you enjoy spending your time in a perfect day? What aspect of the build and of the business are you really focused on if everything's clicking?
So I grew up paint and body, so that's my thing, and then I've got into a little bit of the fab work stuff like that. So I love being in the shop. I love going to shows and talking to people. It took a while before I got out and started doing a bunch of shows, but that was the stepping stones. And now I enjoy going out and talking to people, doing all that stuff. I like getting my hands dirty, staying out in the shop, painting. I've got a good group of guys that do a lot of the body work now, so that makes life easy. Um, but then driving them, the cars got to be broke in. So another part is just getting to drive them. So
Tough job, man.
I
Somebody's
know
got to do that
somebody's got to
part.
do it. I make them my daily drivers for a little bit. Go to car shows in them and drive them on certain shows, cruise ins. Um, drive through the drive-throughs and get breakfast on the weekends, stuff like that. All that stuff comes in play and just makes it a good time.
Love it, man. Talk to me about your team too. I think a lot of our listeners are business owners in the collision repair world, and so they understand kind of some of those talent issues you talked about with your lead guy getting sick or
Yep.
whatever. How's your team put together from a business perspective? Who do you have?
So I grew up in collision. That was a big thing for me. And we've been in business for 19 years now. And I'd say the first 3 to 4 years of that, we had hot rod shop and collision shop. I was stuck doing painting on both of them. And, you get your typical collision deals to where you're frustrated. And we were going pretty headstream on the hot rod, so that was a tough decision, and we dropped all our collision work and full stream on hot rods. So that turned into needing a team, especially even beforehand, and you realize that you can't do everything by yourself. So brought in one guy that would specialize on just body work, and then we brought in a guy that would do just fab work, and then you get managers and stuff like that. So now we're right at 15 people. We have a staff that does the body shop, a little bit in the paint shop. I'm still in the paint shop, fab shop, final assembly guys. We have wiring guys, and now we have an interior guy, a couple managers that stay in the office. The wife stays in the office. I have one fab shop manager that kind of oversees that. So we kind of three of us get together, kind of go over what everything is for everybody. But one of the biggest things that probably help us for a team is Monday mornings. We always get here early, have breakfast. We all sit down, go over the week agenda. So that way, the fab guys know what body shop guys are doing. Body shop guys know what fab guys are doing. So everybody's got an idea of kind of like what's going on in the shop as a whole, and it just kind of brings us all together to talk about the weekend and BS a little bit. Just kind of Mondays are always Mondays, so we always kind of just open up that way to kind of break it open and have a good time and get the week started straight.
Absolutely, man. That crossover is so cool because I think a lot of folks in the collision industry appreciate that to an extreme, but to hear the investment in culture and team building and all that stuff, even in something as sexy as the custom side, right? Like I
Yes,
know you
yep,
know how the sausage is made,
yeah.
but from an outsider's perspective, you are living the dream, my friend, which is very cool.
It is. I get to play with other people's cars and get to build them, and yes, fortunately we get to get paid to do that, but it's the fact that we get to do what we love to do.
Yep, absolutely, man. That's awesome. You mentioned earlier you're excited to see the new technology coming up at SEMA. In this world, just like collision, you've had a ton of innovation technologically here in the last 5, 10 years. It's gone crazy. How do you balance what we talked about in terms of that soul of the vehicle and the feel of the vehicle versus incorporating that kind of cutting edge technology while keeping the original bones?
Yeah, to me there you have so many shops out there and everybody has their own style. I think our style is kind of based off of kind of keeping it tradition, original looking, incorporate some of the modern feels to it. I really like just fine tuning what's already there, sharp edges on stuff. Add a little bit of here and there, upgrade powertrain, drivetrain, AC, Bluetooth. All them creature comforts that if you had a brand new car, I just want it to look like you can tell that's a '69 Mustang, or if that's a '69 Camaro or Chevelle or whatever. But all it is old sheet metal, and you still have a new car feel up under it. So that's one of our biggest things. And going to these shows is seeing how other people incorporate that feel, or how out of the box they go, and see if it still for my style fits it. And you gain ideas off all that stuff also.
Love it. Just amplify what's already there. Lean
Yeah.
into what makes the car special. I think that's a great way to look at it. Just to get a sense too of the custom division of your business, how many builds do you have going on at any one time? How complex is the workflow management and making sure people are kind of all on the same page?
The Monday mornings help a lot. That keeps everybody on the same page. Workflow, I try to keep, we're probably about 25 cars. I like to keep one person on at least two cars, kind of bouncing back and forth, because if one hiccups and you've got, one part that's holding this whole job up, you have a backup plan for that guy. So it keeps them both going back and forth on those, keeps multiple things going. Managing all of it, that's where, to me, you have to have that team. You have to have other people, because one person can't do it all. I've been there, done that, and it's just it'll drive you in the ground. So you got managing part of it, have them guys out there, plus them knowing what's going on throughout the whole shop, to where they can troubleshoot if they have a problem, to where it doesn't slow it down, and go from there.
Well put. Man, I will be upfront here. I do not have the mindset of an artist. That is not my thing. However, when I try to put myself in your shoes, coming off of a 2023 SEMA that was just a raging success,
Yeah.
award-winning success, the thought of trying to keep that momentum going into 2024 and to try to exceed that is pretty daunting. When you're coming off of builds that are just getting rave reviews and you're loving every second of it, where do you find the inspiration to build on that and improve on that? And how do you stay kind of creatively energized?
The You're always trying to one up yourself, and it's like you just got to keep in mind that just because the next car probably isn't as big or whatever as the previous one, you can't beat yourself up on it. Seeing stuff like going to the shows, I get a lot out of that. And seeing what other people do, how they've took the car to another level. Even looking at new cars, to me, is a big thing, and I like incorporating some of the modern stuff into a new car, towards latches and maybe some handles or something like that. Because the biggest thing for me is how a door will shut too, because you take that old car feel out of it. So if you can modernize or incorporate a modern latch into one, um, that's huge to me. You get that clean car sound of shutting a door. So studying new cars, how they've done some of their pieces and parts in it, that's a big part for me also.
Makes total sense. And I want to go back to the innovation well here one more time. I think we've done a really good job talking about the past and talking about the present. I want to ask you to break out the crystal ball here too and tell me, where do you think the custom car industry and your world is going to evolve the most here in the next 5 to 10 years?
Right now, what I'm seeing is everybody's wanting these high end, nice cars, but they're wanting to drive them. They're wanting to enjoy them. A lot of tours have started out. People are cruising, to the shows. I think right now, cruising them and driving them is the biggest thing. And I see the truck trend. The trucks are getting, it's insane the amount of trucks are coming out, and you have your shows with all the trucks. That is that is peaking like crazy, and it'd be interesting to see how that keeps going throughout the years.
Absolutely. I'm with you. And kind of one last thing here on that topic, kind of What innovations in technology do you think we're going to see kind of make the biggest waves? Obviously, we've had a trend toward electrification. We've had a trend toward more modern powertrains. Anything that you're seeing coming down the pipe that's of interest to you that you're keeping an eye on technologically?
I think really the electric stuff, you keep up with it a little bit. It's not one of our deals we want to venture off into, but you still need to do the heads up and reading about it just to see to stay, ahead of the try to stay ahead of the game if you can. I say a lot of the gauge, the AC stuff is taking off into a new way of how they're controlling stuff. The fans, all the electronic parts of these cars are taking on parts of the newer cars. So I think that's what's going to be keeping up on how all the electronic parts of things change and stuff like that.
Fascinating stuff, and the innovation's not going to be slowing down. From a business perspective, how do your customers find you? How has that evolved over time? I imagine it's gone from a bit of a sales effort into a we want you to do this. Talk to me about that evolution in your business.
So for me, it was like even starting out with painting the race cars. That led to the next guy said, "Well, if you can paint that, you can just paint my daily driver," and then that led to, you can paint my hot rod. So that's the whole way it started. And then once you get into business, we try to do our own car, take it to shows, promote yourself as much as you can. Then it got to the point of social media is coming out. So now it's like free advertisement. So you pump out as much as you can on social media just to gain that attention. And then a lot of ours, I would say, is social media. Then people just Googling and then seeing pictures. But a big part right now, I'd say, is going to shows. Going to shows for me is I'm meeting people, talking to them, and I'll go back next year, and then you talk to them more, and you just begin that relationship with them. Then I know we've got good families in Texas we deal with, good peoples in West Virginia and North Carolina, all these different states we visit. We've got small families that we actually build cars for, and literally they are family now. And so going to shows has probably been one of the biggest deals for us right now, and just gaining that relationship with people out there.
Love it. Well, man, you've been so generous with your time. Before we start to wrap up, I got one more question for you, but I do appreciate it. It's been an
Oh,
absolute blast.
this is a break.
Yeah, we'll let you get back to it here in a minute. How would you describe your perfect customer? What do they look for when they call Goolsby Customs, where it's a really good match made in heaven?
Good. That's a good one there. If the customer comes in here, they come to you because they like your style and they trust what you're doing. Um, I'm a their customer just as they are my customer because I don't want no headaches. I don't want no bad feelings or anything like that. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it's one of them you got to part ways with. But if they come in and they say they just got this one car and kind of let you do your thing, that's where you feel like it's going to be a good deal because they trust you on the aspects of the trends that are coming out, what products you're putting on it. You're not there just to make a paycheck off of them because this is our passion. We want to build this and we want to showcase it. Um, it's not always all about the money. It's about building these cars, us having them, being able to enjoy building them, and them having them at the end to have their trophy. But for them to let us do our thing and trust us with it, that's the best customer you can have out there. But they gotta they gotta trust you with it.
That's it. That relationship goes both ways, and
It has,
it's
and
telling that you've built that level of trust with people who you may or may not have personally known for a while, but the
yeah.
reputation speaks for itself. Jonathan, what I want to do is get some links from you to all your socials, to everything, but at a high level for people who want to follow along, where can they do so?
Everything. So Goolsby Customs at Goolsby Customs on all the social media sites, websites, goolsbycustoms.com. You can go there. We keep up with our news. We do a newsletter, once a month or twice a month, and it showcases the shows we're going to, um, upcoming, builds to, hey, we just did upload of pictures on a certain build, so it keeps you in the link. In case you miss us somewhere, you can sign up for that newsletter, and we'll pump it out to you and keep you in the loop on everything we're doing.
Fantastic. I'll be sure to throw those links in the show notes to make that easy. Where can people find you at SEMA this year too?
Good Guys booth will be a good one. Wasada booth will be another one. Let's see, DEI will be there, just hanging out a little bit. The HRA banquet, that'll be a big one for us. We go to that every year. So a lot of those big shops that we deal with, we'll be hanging out with them, promoting them a little bit. But that's running the floors there, having them good shoes on.
Man, that's it, right? Don't be breaking in some new ones.
No,
Bring out
huh?
the old trusty pair there. But Jonathon, an absolute pleasure, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us here on the Collision Vision, and have a great SEMA.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you to Jonathon Goolsby of Goolsby Customs for joining us here on the Collision Vision with another fantastic conversation in our pre-SEMA series. I love talking with Jonathon and hearing his story and feeling his passion for what he does. It's really some inspiring stuff, and I encourage anyone listening who's planning on attending SEMA to go ahead and track down some of the Goolsby Customs builds. There's something to see. That's all for today's episode of the Collision Vision. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you enjoy your podcasts and on YouTube, where the Collision Vision lives in video form. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode in our series titled The Art of Restoration. As always, on behalf of the Auto Body News team and myself, thank you for coming along for the ride.